All right, thanks everyone. Welcome to Town Hall of Q4 2024. And we love to have you all in attendance. Have some questions ready as we will have a Q&A further down the track. For the time being, I'm just introducing the stage. Matt is passing just a slight delay to his flight, so he'll be with us shortly. I've got Noah proxying in for Blair to cover membership, Rowan to proxy in for Chris to cover events, and Will is here with us to cover technology today. I myself would like to introduce the directorate, and we'll cover a quick roundtable from a top-down division level, and then we'll go for a roundtable with Q&A afterwards. Firstly, just with questions submitted previously, and then open it out to the floor, and we'll close in about an hour's time. First up, just from a division level, we're refreshing our constitution, so just expect that to go out for community review in the next few days, just prior to the new year. Not many changes that have come through, just really minor changes covering new VAT-SIM terminology, new policies from there. In the next coming weeks, we're working with VAT New Zealand to also refresh our agreement with them. Currently, all controllers can control on both sides of the ditch. However, with the latest transfer TVCP, that's no longer the case in only S3s and above. We're also working through minor changes, and I'll let Matt cover the rest of this with our agreement with VAT New Zealand, just to cover some of the differences on both sides of the ditch. So we'll have policies and documents for the New Zealand controllers to look at, and vice versa. So we'll have a better idea of what their procedures are when we do get an opportunity to control over there. This was raised in a general chat a little bit earlier, about last week. There was a letter of agreement published on our end, but hasn't been announced, just kind of soft launched. We do, as VATPAC, own a lot of the islands in the Pacific that don't see a lot of action, and some of these islands are, in the real world, operated by the US. VAT USA have reached out, and we've been talking over the past few months on having these aerodromes also be serviced by VAT USA, and that's come through. We'll announce that very shortly, and there'll be procedures already written and drafted and about to be published, so that we'll have a better idea of how to coordinate that with Oakland Oceanic, which is coordinated by VAT USA. Last thing from me is that we are wrapping up the year for 2024, and that means that when 2025 comes around, a lot of our positions do get refreshed. And the two biggest ones of these are the non-exec positions on the board, as well as the treasurer and secretary position. Those positions are up for application. If you do look in the news channel, strongly encourage you to apply. There's nothing such as not enough experience or not enough previous history in the staff team, especially with the non-exec role. We're really looking for someone who is keen to represent the community and make sure that the board and the staff are doing their best for the community. So please apply for them in the news channel with all the links and position descriptions there. For the time being, I would like to hand across to the rest of the directorate before we go into Q&A. First up, we'd like to invite Noah to talk about membership. All yours, Noah.
Thanks, Glenn. We have a few projects coming up in the new year from a membership and marketing perspective. First of all, we've got a newsletter, maybe called The Scope, sort of something we're looking into doing quarterly, just to let people know what's going on behind the scenes, what we're working on. Then we've got some short form content that's started being produced by our team to sort of explain any concepts that may be difficult for newer pilots to understand, or even if you're just trying to extend your knowledge, and then any community questions. We can make some short form content sort of answering those for you. We're also looking at creating some briefings for Milk Run Monday, both for pilots and controllers. So if you've got any interest in them, just reach out to Blair or myself with anything you'd like to add or any suggestions for any requests. We've got the applications for community manager. So there's a position description written in the news page published in the Discord. Got the requirements for that position. So you don't have to be a part of the moderation team or the staff team. If you've got something to give, just fill out the application. It'll only take 5 or so minutes. Anyone's welcome to fill that out. We're also looking at some docs pages being published in the near future. And if you have any ideas for any tutorials or additional docs pages, just again reach out to Blair or myself and let us know, and we'll try and get working on those. I just want to touch on screenshot of the month just to explain what's going on. So there is no competition running for the month of December, so any submissions during this month won't be counted. The competition will resume in January, where we'll put up the November winners banner, and then January's banner will go up in February, etc. That's all for screenshot of the month. And then the socials, we're trying to get them revived. So it's looking good so far. So if you do have any questions you want to reach out via socials, you should expect to get a fairly quick response from them. We should be more active on those. Last thing is just the community policy being looked at, possibly being updated. Yeah, we've got a couple projects coming up in the new year, and we look forward to letting you guys know what's going on. That's
Perfect. Thank you so much, Noah. And yeah, I just want to reiterate, Brett is stepping down from his role as community manager. We thank him for his many, many hours and years of service. And yeah, honestly looking for someone to continue on that legacy that Brett has made. So please apply for a community manager. Blair's just put a link for the application in the chat. It does close on the 23rd of September. At this stage, matching the non-exec and treasurer and secretary position. But we're happy to extend that as required. For the non-exec role and the treasurer and secretary role, that will remain as the 23rd of December. So get your applications in for that, please. I'd like to move on to events. Rowan, it is all yours.
Wonderful. Thanks, Clem. Not a lot from events. I'd just like to thank everyone for their attendance, especially controllers over the events. En route as well, making sure we actually get coverage. It was great, especially during World Flight. That was quite possibly one of the best World Flights we've ever run. The 2025 major events calendar is live. I've just put a link to that in the news channel for everyone to go have a look at. We've been through the 2024 event survey, had a look at what everyone liked, what everyone wanted, and we've tried to formulate a calendar that best suits that. The Spilled Milk Run calendar, we're just finalising a few things, making sure we've got all the airports covered, and that will be out sometime before the last Monday in January. And yeah, not a lot else from events. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, look, just open up that major events list. There's quite a few exciting events that I'm very excited for. So when they swing around, please do come and fly and stay tuned for the return of Milk Run Monday post-holidays. All right. Up next, we have Will, cover technology. All yours, Will.
Awesome. Thanks, Clem. So yeah, just for us, it's a pretty been a relatively quiet year compared to previous years, but our focus has really been on upkeep of all of our systems and identifying areas where we need to put more attention on going forward. One of our bigger projects has been the event site. The current system is drifting towards legacy. It's still filling most needs at the moment, but from a event staff point of view, there's a lot of manual and double handling that's going on there. So we're sort of aiming to just reduce that in a way that's not over engineering a solution, but also making sure that it is fit for purpose and something that is useful to the division. That has been going on for some time. Again, progress has been slower throughout the latter part of the year. That's a general trend we see most years. But over summer, we're hoping to pick that up as availability frees up in and around real life commitments. And we will be at some point looking out to see if there's any additional members who might be interested in assisting with that. On that note, part of that is expanding our team and looking at how we can bring on some more people and better plan for the future. If we think about succession planning, the tech team is somewhat small at the moment, and there's a lot of localized areas and knowledge among many people. It's great that we've got a good core team, but it just is a bit risky in an organisation like this where people do come and go. So we're mostly looking to improve our documentation, our handover, all of that stuff behind the scenes to make sure that everything is manageable by more than just one person. So on that note, our first priority is getting the event site sorted, but once that is sort of rolled up, then we'll be looking forward to how we can better plan for the future. So setting up some internal protocols and systems, and then expanding out to see if there's anyone who's interested in joining the team. With that said, I know we've received many EOIs previously. I want to assure you that these haven't fallen on deaf ears. We have been receiving these and taking note of these, but it is a job in and of itself to introduce people into the team and upskill and I suppose orientation is sort of the word we're looking for, or induction even. And that's sort of something we're looking to sort of formalize in a way, something that can be repeated several times without having to invest hours and hours on end. It's a tricky sort of thing when lots of individuals build lots of individual systems that all try and come together. So we're wanting to work on expanding our team without having to double up on any of the work that's been done previously, if that makes any sense. In terms of sort of the small little work we've been doing, there's lots of little jobs. There's too many to list, and they're often small little things. So I'm not going to go into any detail there, but I'm happy to discuss sort of the other little things we've been doing throughout the year if anyone is interested in questions. So apart from that, Clem, I think that wraps it up for me, and I'm happy to pass back to you or over to Matt, whoever's next.
Beautiful. Thanks, Will. And yeah, straight over to Matt to cover ATS. Welcome back from flying.
Hey, everyone. It's been a busy couple of months at ATS. I'll give you a rundown of some of the ongoing projects, and then I'll cover some of the things that we've completed recently. But currently underway, I say it every time, but SOPs, it's an ongoing job. So obviously there's been a lot of work going on there. There's been a lot of focus on military procedures as of the last couple of weeks, going back about a month, which is really great to see. That's largely thanks to a select couple of members of the community. So as always, we're very grateful for the work that everyone puts in there and those who do choose to volunteer their time to help us out. So very thankful that they are willing to contribute like that. As a result, we've got pull requests in there for, I think, between 8 and 10 military aerodromes, which either don't currently have detailed SOPs or it fleshes out areas that have previously been overlooked. So some really good contributions there. Goes without saying that if you see something that's missing on the SOPs or you see something that you would like to contribute to, it's all open source. So just jump on and submit a pull request for us. If you're a little bit unfamiliar with GitHub and MK Docs and that sort of thing, we've got a somewhat detailed startup guide just to get you started. And that's on the SOP's website itself. So it's all there for you. Of particular note that we've completed on the SOPs recently, we've got a lightbox update, which means that when you have an image, a static image on the site, you can now click on it to expand it up to its full resolution, which is really helpful with some of the diagrams we have. We've seen the addition of East Sail and, like I said, a number of other military aerodromes. We've rewritten CANs. We've done some work on the formatting of the overall site to make it a bit clearer which content is related to which section. And you would have noticed with WorldFlight that we trialled having the WorldFlight controller briefing in the SOPs itself. We got some really good feedback from that, so we're looking to proceed with that for all upcoming major events, and that way all the data stays relevant in the same place, and we can link between event-specific procedures and ongoing procedures as well. Pilot procedures is something that hasn't seen a whole lot of work lately because we've been quite focused elsewhere. It's currently in a review state. In the new year, once we've ticked off a few of the end-of-year review projects we have ongoing, then we're going to come back to pilot procedures, get that review conducted, and then get some more content contributed. AIRAC updates, again, business as usual there. You might have seen in the news channel that we've been trialling some different arrangements of airspace around the country, most notably Tasman. We're just trying to work out the best way to walk the line between realism and something that's a bit more practical for our use. So we're trialling a few arrangements there. We've come up with an arrangement we're pretty happy with, and that's reflected in the VATSIS profile and the SOPs. There's a news post about that, but if you do have any feedback, we really want to hear it. Additional airspace segments that we're reviewing, we're hoping to get these published either in the next AIRAC or the one after that, but we're looking at changes to some of the sector arrangements in the J-curve, particularly around Sydney and Melbourne, and also up in far north Queensland, just to better meet the sort of traffic demand that we see both during quiet times and during busy events. So you will see a little bit more from that in the coming weeks. We're in the final stages of introducing the secondary tower positions to Metro D towers, which is how it's run in the real world. Previously, we've had just a single tower position. We don't see a heap of traffic at Metro D towers, but we're starting to see a little bit more, which is great. And we're also starting to see a few more events targeted that way with some pretty good community engagement. So we thought it's about time that we put in the secondary tower positions there. The SOPs will be updated, and obviously VATSIS will reflect that as well. One thing that's hopefully going to address some grievances of a few people is the introduction of an ATC Sessions Discord channel. So we get a lot of people who advertise that they're opening a particular control position, or who want to do a flight and they're trying to encourage ATC to connect at a position or an aerodrome or something like that. So we've got a dedicated channel where people can advertise their intent to open particular positions, and that way pilots can plan around that expected coverage, and other controllers can also see that a particular position will be open and they might choose to control adjacent to it or underneath it or however they desire. We've integrated that with the bot so that we can minimize having the channel go too off topic. And we're just finishing the final testing of that bot command. So we're hoping to get that out shortly. We're just waiting for that final testing to be completed. Ongoing as well, there's still working on a differences package between VATPAC and VATNZ visiting controllers. So the idea being that as a VATPAC controller, you head over to VATNZ, you can just have a quick look at their course targeted specifically to you, and that'll give you all the differences that you need to exercise the privileges of your rating in the VATNZ FIR. Obviously, the same being for their controllers coming here. That's involving us undertaking all of their theory courses and comparing it to ours. So it's quite a time-consuming process, but it is ongoing. And we're also working closely with VATNZ to make sure it's reciprocated in the same level of detail. We've had a lot of community feedback about the productivity and the efficiency of the department. We've got a lot of really dedicated people who work really hard on a lot of these sort of projects behind the scenes. And there's a lot of discussions every day about all sorts of things that we either see raised in the Discord or that we've got on the back burner as well. We've realised that some people might be a bit frustrated by the timeline that we provide sometimes. And obviously, we're all volunteers. We've all got full-time jobs, study commitments. It's something that we can't commit a heap of time to all the time, but we do our best. Regardless, though, we're looking to introduce an additional role to ATS called the ATS Assistant, and that's someone who wants to get involved and help out with generic tasks. So I've got a list here that we thought. So as a bit of an idea of what that might involve, We're looking at things like helping out with that VAT-NZ differences package I talked about, negotiating some of the LOAs that we have with adjacent regions and also with organisations like Virtual Airlines and RAFV, getting all of our VATPAC endorsed routes into SimBrief. So you get the idea. It's stuff that is quite important, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of manpower. So we're looking to bring people on who want to volunteer their time towards the department and the division. Obviously, no requirement for real-world experience, no requirement for ATC rating, nothing like that. Just are willing to help. Okay, so that's everything that we're covering at the moment. Things that we've completed since I last spoke to you in August. ADAS Zulu. So we've worked with the developer of the More ADAS plugin to have formulated Zulu messages for particular aerodromes that close in the real world. And we've also updated the SOPs to match that as well. We completed a review of the territory airspace. So Air Services Australia changed the arrangement of some of those sectors, and we've mirrored that so that, again, we can match the sort of traffic levels that we see. We did the same thing for Sydney ground. So the Sydney ground positions were defaulting to west being the default position and then east being the secondary position. But the problem was that generally the higher workload exists on the east. So if you were on Sydney ground and you was really busy with one of our typical events, which is largely domestic aircraft, you'd lose all the fun by having someone come and give you a hand, so no one would want to do that. So we switched it around. Sydney ground east is now default, and that generally works a bit better. We've also reviewed the solo endorsement positions. So the Melbourne TCU for our S3 candidates has been replaced by both Adelaide and Perth TCUs. That was in response to community feedback. This gives controllers some more options so that if Melbourne, or now that we've got two of them, if one of them is already taken, you can log on to the other. And they've also been selected for having little complexity, but a good learning environment. The same has been done for the en route controllers, or candidates, I should say. So we've added Pingelly as well as tail and bend. So there's now two options. We've changed procedural towers. Two things here. One, the ground positions, SMC, can be opened by an S1 regardless of whether you have the procedural tower endorsement or not, and we've added new content to the ATC Academy to cover that. And we've also changed the way that controllers interact with aircraft data so that they now own the tags, which standardises how those aircraft are handled across various positions. We have written an initial Milk Run Monday pilot guide, which is a bit of a tie over until we can get pilot procedures up and running, but somewhere that both local pilots and foreign pilots can refer to so that they're a little bit prepared for the event. Quite importantly, if you weren't aware of this, we have removed the extension rule which prevented people from extending from Alice Springs, which is a Melbourne-based en route sector, to any Brisbane sector, and also from the Mount Isa en route sector, which is Brisbane Centre, into any of the Melbourne sectors. It's all explained much better than I just did there in a news article, so go and have a look at that. But essentially it means that you can now extend, as you were already able to in other sectors, to any adjacent sector, but you have the responsibility of conforming with the ATS policy and make sure you've got good visibility over all of your jurisdiction. And then finally, we've refined Sydney Coordinator and Melbourne pushback requests on clearance delivery procedures, largely through to feedback from the community. So we're really grateful for everyone who reached out about what was working and what wasn't. The SOPs have been updated to reflect the findings of that feedback. And we've been working closely with the developer of AusStrips as well to try and keep that plugin relevant and useful to our operations. So we're really grateful to Max for all the work that he's put into that and how willing he's been to take our feedback there as well. I'll just wrap up with some training stats for you. So we advertised for instructors a couple of months ago now. It's probably closer to 6 months now. We received 14 applicants and we went ahead with 9 of them. We've used feedback from the previous onboarding window to try and make that process smoother and also a bit more involved as far as content and that sort of thing goes. So we've seen some really good response to that. We've also appointed a training manager. So if you didn't notice before, AJ is now the ATC training manager, and he's just managing the day-to-day running of the department, and that's just to help ease the workload across the various members in the department and keep things running efficiently. At the moment, we're looking to standardise the training process, which involves standardising instructor onboard students, and then also developing more of a curriculum so that all students are getting very similar training. At the moment, everyone is getting very similar training, but it's quite flexible based on the needs of the student and the desires of the instructor. So we're trying to standardise it a little bit more so that people come out at a more consistent level, and we think that's going to help address some of the shortcomings of particular groups of people that we've seen recently, and the feedback that we've received as a result. So this is us taking action on the feedback that you've all provided through the help desk. The simulator's been updated. We can do circuits. We can taxi better. There's a lot of instructor quality of life improvements in the sim, which means that we can run more complex scenarios. For those of you who've come through the training process, you'll know the feeling of being overwhelmed in the sim. It's just as overwhelming for the instructor because you're trying to keep up with the student and program all the planes to do what they got to do. So this makes it a lot easier for us, which helps us deliver better training to the student. We're still waiting for some of the final bugs to be ironed out, but another huge shout out to the developer, AJ, who's put in countless hours to get that resource up and running for us. It's definitely the most advanced simulator anywhere on the network, and it's now being used by other divisions as well because of how good it is. So you can be assured that students at VATPAC are getting some of the best training around. We'll continue to add scenarios. We're focusing on tower scenarios so that we can make the most of the S2 rating, and focus on airspace management, things like helicopters, visual approaches, visual separation requirements, and issuing clearances inbound and outbound to airborne aircraft. Moorabbin has been added as a scenario. There's work on a Jandakot scenario, and there's plans to develop a CAN scenario as well. So some really good stuff in the works. And then the last thing from me is what everyone wants to know, the current queue waiting times. Previously, the average was roughly 6 months for when you complete the exam to when you get picked up for practical training. When I last spoke to you in August, it was at about 3.7 months, and now 4 months later, it's now 2.6 months. So we're seeing some really good movement there. We're expecting those stats to start to reverse because as we hit Christmas, the department is wound down, which was announced recently, to give our instructors a bit of a break and let them unsquare their eyes from looking at the screens all day. So those statistics will change next time I talk to you, but we expect that to be the case. As we've reached the end of the year, we'll start to reassess the needs of the community and the demand on the training team and look to advertise for new instructors if that's deemed necessary. That's all I got for tonight, Clem.
Wow, that's what a exhaustive list. Massive work from the ATS team, along with the other departments. So thank you for that massive update. Like Matt said, the SOPs are a huge community effort. If you see something that's missing, not too sure about how GitHub works, pull requests, don't be scared. Please let us know. And yeah, just before you work on anything, please let the ATS team know your intentions, and just so we can make sure that this is a fine line between enabling a realistic service and making sure that our SOPs are easy to navigate and understand, as we would like them to be. Beautiful, we move to a time of Q&A. For those who are on the Discord, stick your hand up, or on YouTube. First time on YouTube, hello everyone on YouTube. Submit your questions through to membership@vatpac.org. Before you open the floor to people in the town hall, we do have a few questions that have been submitted from our community. First is a question from Cruz. Will there be more events to promote traffic in the island? Rowan, all yours for events.
Okay. So traffic in the Pacific and action that way, definitely more of a forgotten part. We do try and get something in every year. It's become a thing now that we're trying to use Port Moresby for spilled milk runs. But the main downside to the Pacific, specifically Noumea and Port Vila, is essentially just their aerodrome capacity. The two main airports there just cannot support the amount of planes that our events bring, and often end in just controllers getting smashed with planes, not wanting to control because there's just nothing you can do. Fiji can handle the traffic. However, we're looking at 4 or 5 hour flight time from the mainland, which then comes back to the pilots. That's almost too long for most people. So yeah, we're trying to find a nice little niche with Port Moresby and Cairns, exploring that, seeing what we can do. But yeah, it's mainly just down to the airport capacity.
Thanks, Rowan. Question from Charlie. I've noticed a lot of new S1, S2s deciding to use the briefing rooms as a private controller voice call during events, mainly around 3 to 4 people at once, all screen sharing VATSys. It's clear they're not using it for coordination or handovers since they sit in the call for hours on end. In the future, can we maybe see a policy written to make sure people are using the briefing rooms for their intended purposes, or perhaps an addition of another briefing room? Very good question. Matt, would you be open to take this?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a good question. The rooms are there obviously for the purpose of handover briefings. Controllers have the option of using the VSCS to do that if they wish, but otherwise Discord might be easier for some individuals. So that's the purpose of them. Unfortunately, it seems like some people aren't quite adhering to that. There's no specific policy which prohibits that action, and we do understand that there might be cases where there's a bit of an overflow problem when some of the other rooms are busy. We don't want to have too many rooms in the Discord because it's already quite cluttered as it is, but we still want it to be fit for purpose. So at the moment, if any of the moderation teams see that occurring, they'll just jump in and just give everyone a gentle nudge to move on and just take that conversation into another room so that the room is free. But if you do observe it where the room is occupied and you want to do a handover, but the actions of others are being problematic, I'd encourage you to either just jump in and just say, oh, we need to do a handover, would you mind moving into the lounge? Or otherwise, just ask a staff member and they'll be able to help you out. We might need to discuss this as a staff team as to whether a policy amendment is required for this, but we want to be able to give flexibility to controllers whilst also making sure that Discord is fit for purpose. So it's probably something that we need to take back and have a bit of a chat about.
Yeah, thanks. It looks like there's quite a few people of us in the community who are experiencing that. So definitely just a friendly reminder for all of us. It's very easy to just get caught in chats after a handover. Just friendly reminder just to move yourself back to a lounge to continue your conversations.
And also, sorry, just with that, if you can't find a staff member and you do want to report something like that, you can use the bot command. I think it's / and then report. And you can submit a Discord report, which will be sent to the staff. So that's another way of contacting people if that's required.
Great, thank you. Another question's come through. I'm not too sure who this is from. What is the plan for CTAP implementation? I heard it was in the talks months ago. Any updates? Yeah, so this was something that we were working together with VATSIM on, a trial. VAT USA came through first to have CTAP implementation. And we're working with them to potentially have VATPAC as another trial region. However, we've been working with them to have an API to upload a lot of data through. As you can imagine, we have to then put all the airports, all the positions, all the frequencies up. And this was just not a task that we were able to do manually for every single IK aerodrome in our region, not just Australia, but all our Pacific Islands, etc. At this point, we are aware that other regions have joined the trial, and they are significantly smaller than our region. We are still looking to have the CTAP implementation as a trial come through. We put out that survey out. It was overwhelming that from the community that you guys want to have CTAP implemented into VATSIM in our region. So we hear you. We see the desire for it. Please just hold on tight whilst we work with VATSIM to have an API come through, and then we'll move on from there. Get the functionality out. We'll write up a few SOPs from there. I can't promise anything with this at this stage. It's been a very long run, as you can imagine. It's been quite a few months trying to get this API going. It has stagnated in its progress. We're just asking for a bit of patience from here. That is all the questions that we have from that end. So we're going to now open up to the floor for that functionality stick your hand up in the Discord as a request to speak, and we'll invite you one by one to the stage. First up, we have. I've just got a CID number, so I'm not too sure, but come on in. There you go. Introduce yourself and your question. Thank you.
G'day everyone. Just a question. Will there be more information about gliding in the Camden SOPs?
We're definitely open to it. Do you have any experience you can lend? Unfortunately, with a lot of these things, we rely on people with actual real-world experience because otherwise we're just developing our best guess for these sort of things. So at the moment, based on the current state of the SOPs, if a glider connects to Camden or anywhere else, it's up to the controller to use their knowledge to handle that aircraft as best they can. If any individuals, and that obviously includes yourself, if you've got experience that might help us to develop SOPs, we'd really encourage you to submit a pull request so that we can implement that and get that published live for everyone else.
Yeah, right. I appreciate it. You've all done a beautiful job.
Thank you. Next, we got Chiron. Come on up.
Hello, everyone. Kyron here. Do have a question regarding. I know I haven't heard much about this one, but regarding like procedural tower rating, can you master that after S3? Is that
Yeah, all of the rating information is available on the website, and there might be some confusion because previously the procedural rating content was covered in the S3, so that those who were S3 rated could automatically control a procedural tower. We did a review a little while back and determined that's not really appropriate because of the differences in the way they're controlled. So at the moment, that endorsement is completely separate, the procedural tower endorsement. If you have a look on the website, you go controllers and then ATC training, and you can see the prerequisites for all of our endorsements. And listed under procedural tower endorsement, there's no obligation to have an S3 or anything like that, but one of the prerequisites is to have held an S2 rating for at least 3 months, in addition to some other ones there.
that does answer that question. Or another one regarding like military airports. Would another airport like Edinburgh on the list by any chance?
Yep, it sure is. We've actually had 2 members who've contributed content for Edinburgh, and we're in the process of combining both of those pull requests into one. But yeah, thanks to a couple of individuals, we absolutely do.
Yeah, that's all from me at the moment. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Cade. Cade, invitation has been sent through.
This is just about events for 2025. So obviously, in August there's the Cross the Land. I was just wondering how much of like an impact does the division have in like choosing what airports are selected, and are we as a community able to like vote for specific airports?
An events question.
Yeah. So obviously for the Cross the Land that's happening in about 3 weeks, that was airports chosen by the Cross the Land planning team. They tried to go a little bit more away from Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane, I think it was, which featured in the first edition we did. So this time, I actually don't know if I can say which airports are in, but we're straying away from those ones. I have no idea how it will work for the August edition, but I can definitely push to the team to see if we can get some community involvement with what airports are selected. But yeah, as for now, it's done within the planning team.
Is there anything the division has like over rostering the times and stuff, or is it more of just everything's done through the Cross the Land team? Like all the departure times and whatnot?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of say over times. Obviously, no one wants to control at 4 a.m. and 9 p.m. at night. So we are kind of having a little bit of control over that and making sure it's at a reasonable time for controllers.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. That's all.
Cool.
Thank you. Okay, let's just seeing a few questions come through text as well. We'll come to those as we finish off the floor. So stay tuned for that. If you've still got questions, please come on. Please post them, email them through. Jesse Lee. Invitation's been sent.
Hey guys, apologies. I did have to run away partway through this, so if it's already been asked, I do apologize. Just being developmental at this stage, the information with that first stage of training with regards to ATC, especially when it comes to clearance and SIDS and learning all that, sort of going between the Moodles and the SOPs, it's still, I personally am still really struggling to understand it and find the support in understanding that. I'm just wondering if there's any intentions on adding to the training side of it with regards to clearance.
It's a really good question, and it's really good to get feedback like that, because when we develop these courses, we don't have the same experience that you have. So stuff like this is really helpful. The short answer is that the reason things are separated between the Moodle and the SOPs is intentional. The Moodle covers basic introductory foundation stuff, and the SOPs are designed for constant referral, but it gets students used to referring to the SOPs and knowing where to find information. I understand it is probably a little bit overwhelming at the start. In terms of improving particular aspects of each course, we're constantly making changes, and if you have any suggestions like you have just suggested there, that's really helpful for us as an area of where to focus. So we'll go and have a look at that and see if we can make that a bit clearer. In fact, even if you want to send me a message and just describe some of the difficulty you're having with the content, whether it's the way it's worded or it's structured, or if it's not explanatory enough, that really helps us as well. We have been working for a while to enhance the training process with the introduction of some members who are happy to volunteer their time and help students in the queue and whatnot with any basic questions that they might have. Work on that has continued. We've got a working group working towards that mentor idea at the moment. We've got 3 or 4 people who have been putting in a lot of work over the last 2 or 3 weeks. But like I mentioned in my little debrief, we've got a lot of things on the go. So it's also something we'd like to see enhanced by any assistance that we bring on as well. So the short answer is yes. If there's something you don't understand, feel free to firstly reach out to a member of the training team and we'll happily explain it to you. If you can't find someone, put a help desk ticket in and we'll both try and give you a hand in the moment, but also improve that content to avoid confusion for future students.
No worries, thanks. I guess it was just sort of learning how to establish that connection between the clearance and the SIDS.
Yeah, sure. No, again, really good stuff. And please do send me a message if there's anything that we can improve, just so that it does help those who follow on after you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Sweet, thank you. Members coming in with recurring questions. Karen.
Hello again. Is regarding event side of things. I don't know if you guys remember me earlier this year. I put in a proposal for the event. I've sort of gave you guys for like the Adelaide to Kangaroo Island. Is there any update regarding that?
Yep. Without saying too much, I can definitely let you know that we are planning something around that weekend and the Kangaroo Island Cup. So definitely keep your eyes open for that.
Yep, thank you again for that. Appreciate it for the update on that. That's all for me.
Thank you. And Levi.
Hello. I was wondering whether the milk run rosters would be getting fixed soon.
So coming into the Christmas break, milk runs will go unrostered. So the 23rd and 30th, there's no official milk run. Obviously, it still runs, but it won't be rostered. And we will resume rostering on the 6th of January edition.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you. Got one more question from the floor, it looks like, at this stage.
Oh, yeah, once again, just another question that I've got today. Now, will there ever be any other way to release a danger airspace without contacting on frequency like in real life? Much similar to the D3999 gliding airspace at Baggers Marsh.
I'm not sure I totally understand the question. So you're saying that as a pilot that you can check the status of airspace? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, and request an airspace to be released for specific operations in referring to Class G up to a certain altitude limit.
We already do this with some of the military operations because those pilots undergo training which helps them to manage that airspace and facilitate the traffic, other traffic passing through. The difficulty with it is that under the VATSIM COC, you can't place priority on one aircraft above another. So by locking down airspace for the use of a small group of people and excluding others from using it, that goes against the policy. We've got specific letters of agreement between certain organisations, and RAFI is one of them, that help us to manage the needs of that organisation with ours. But that's generally where the line lies. It's all policy driven.
Yeah, righto, thank you.
Great, thank you. And Grayson. And Grayson, we charge by the minute to have ownership of the stage.
Yeah, a 28-year broadcast. It might take a minute or six. I just wanted to give a couple of comments to you guys from a 9,600-hour ATPL-rated one-time airline pilot who has been flying online and ATC since 1996. What I've experienced with VATPAC this year has been, without question, the greatest time I have ever experienced online. You guys as a team, and it's you guys, who are running all of this, need to be given just the biggest applause. Your operation is bogglingly brilliant. I love every time I hop on. Milk Run Monday has actually become a high point at the beginning of my week. I adore it, and I'm always there whenever I can, and I always try and fly any of the events that you guys have. Just as a little aside, December 20, 1984 is the very first day that I got my very first flying lesson. So it's lovely that tonight we're all here talking about VATPAC. So I just wanted to say to you guys, boggling, incredible, amazing, you're brilliant. I flew VAT USA for a long time. And yeah, you guys just are absolutely beyond world class. And yes, I fly and control in VAT NZ all the time. Our guys are good, but compared to what you guys do, my God. So I just wanted to say lots of love. Thank you so very much for the incredible setup that you guys have. And I very much look forward to blasting in those with you guys in the new year.
Grayson, thank you so much for the words of praise, and that goes out to everyone who has contributed, the staff, and also the members in our community. Make this a great community.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I tip my hat to you guys behind the desks. But yeah, the reality is it's wide reaching and is everyone. And listening to you talk before, I might put my hand up for the community role. It's certainly something that I've done for most all of my 28-year radio career and continue to do. So, all right, chaps, look, love it. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And Merry damn Christmas.
Thanks, Grayson. Appreciate it. Still had 4 minutes allocated, Grayson, but I suppose you relinquish that time to the rest of the community. I have a message from the region that's looking at VATPAC. Had a question from them if I could find it. I will go looking for that, but for the time being, we do have another question that was briefly touched on by Rowan previously. From George, can we consider the possible promotion of member events to proper events in the future, such as said day is growing in popularity and it'd be great to trial as an improved event?
Yeah, very similar response for the one before. I don't know how many people are aware, but there is a national election coming up in the next year, so stay tuned for a democracy sausage.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I do have the query from the region now. Bit of a statement as opposed to a question. On behalf of the regional team, can we please request that if people are submitting transfer requests due to ATC training wait time, can they please have a bit of patience, because I'm noticing more and more people are transferring, then a week or two later wanting to go back, and it's not particularly ideal. Great, thank you. So heads up for you guys, if you are looking to transfer out of the region, note that in many instances, if you do have an S rating, S1, S2, S3, this may not be recognized by your receiving region and vice versa. I can't speak too much about coming back in, Matt, so I can give it to you if you do want to continue on answering this question.
Yeah, you've covered most of it there. Anyone who does transfer into our division can't use, so they keep their rating, but they can't use it with us until they're placed on our roster, which is a GCAP VATSIM policy requirement. To get placed on our roster, you have to do a competency check. So you go into the queue. How long the queue is how long you wait. It's the same elsewhere as well, from my understanding, or at least it should be. So we have one of the shortest queues around, but if people are transferring here just to get a rating and then transferring out again, they're looking at waiting however long the queue is here, then transferring out, waiting up to, I think VAT UK is up to 2 years in the queue, just to be able to use the rating that they have. So it doesn't really achieve much. If we do have some individuals who have transferred out and then transferred back in just because that's what they want to do, and that's completely fine. But that's how that does work. Once you leave VATPAC, you come off our roster and you need to be placed on the roster of the new division. So obviously coming back in, there will be a delay before you can control again.
Sweet, thank you. Got a question from Chris. It looks like it has generated some discussion in the Town Hall chat as well, but we'll cover it here as well. There's a lot of carry-on from controllers when parts are on the network that have no idea what they're doing. Yet VATSIM provide no guidance other than how to connect and send it. I know this is a VATSIM worldwide problem, but is there a way we can do this better in VATPAC and have more support for our newer pilots? I'll kick off first, and Matt, I might get you to continue on.
Sure.
There is a requirement on VATSIM, straight up from their global policies, that you do have to know and fly and intimately know your plane to be able to be on the network. However, there's a lot of new planes coming through, some which may not have the desired functionality and simulations that we would all desire. So, look, there is a very fine line between walloping individuals who have no idea what they're doing, but also just giving a lending hand to those who are new to the network. We've all been there. We've all gone through connecting to the network for the first time. It can be very intimidating. So, just a request to those controllers: if you do see a new pilot, have some patience, have some empathy. Know that you were one of these individuals before, connecting for the first time. Give them a hand if you have the capacity to. Matt, if you'd like to continue on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, as far as the division is concerned, we do have some resources. I think it was probably like 2 or 3 years ago, we migrated the website, and a few of our documents went up for review. A few of them got lost in the process, so we've managed to get most of them back. I'll have to bring it up myself. Under Membership Hub and Documentation, you'll find some docs that have been written by the team We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got about 10 pilot guides. It looks like 3 of them are published. The rest of them are awaiting review. Again, a task that we want to offload to an ATS assistant who might be able to help get some of these docs back published again. So that's the first thing. These things cover basics in terms of how to fly an aircraft in an online environment. We've got some video guides as well that are available on YouTube and on our website, and we've also got text guides that go with that all, and then we've got specific things like Milk Run Monday guides like I talked about before. The other side of that is the pilot procedures site, which I do recognise has been in the works for a long time. Trying to start something like this is a massive task, but we are working on it. The idea of that is to provide it's essentially mimicking the SOPs for pilots, but we're covering things like flight planning advice, fuel planning, but also things like how do you connect to the network and what should you use QF or QFA. We see a lot of these sort of mistakes repeated quite frequently, all the way into everything covered in the VFRG, most of the things in the AIP, a lot of very specific location items that you find in the ERSA. So the idea being that we've designed the VATPAC SOP so that a pilot can reference any real world material and they should be able to receive a decent service. Obviously acknowledging the difference between a controller who spent 18 months at the academy and someone who's done 4 sessions in an en route simulator, but some allowance made there. We want to have the same thing for the pilots, that they can go to the pilot procedure site and they can see everything that they need to get themselves started. I don't know if I can share my screen. See if I can do this quickly now. I'll see if I can give you guys just a really quick demo of what we've got so far. So looking at this, this is an alternate requirements page. So it's just sort of introducing when you might need to carry an alternate, and we've got due to weather, due to a lack of nav aids, etc. And trying to put that in a more accessible format than what you'll find online. And it's a very familiar format for those who are familiar with the SOPs. A lot of this stuff is actually complete, which is great. Trying to put a lot of examples in just to, again, make it as accessible to new pilots as we can. But obviously there's still a lot of work to be done. So I don't want to show too much now because this is very much in alpha. This is not ready for release, but just to show that this is definitely being worked on and it will be released as soon as we can. We just want to make sure that it's at the standard that we're happy with before we do so. So I hope that answers your question, Chris.
Sweet, thank you. Still a few more questions coming through. Any plans for an event similar to Live UK, Live UK? I'm not too sure. I'm sure it's Live UK, where all controllers control from the same place for a weekend, etc. So that's a really good question from Kay. We don't have any plans for a controller only or get together. Like, I've seen photos, videos, and they look really exciting. We just don't have any plans for that at this stage. We may look into that in the future. We do have a conference that is coming up, a date and location to be confirmed. That's all in development. And we may look at exploring having a controller room if the premises do allow for it. And that, of course, will be a logistical task for us as well. But we'll include that into our planning for the conference. As for a distinct event, just like Live UK, not at this stage, but really good idea. Would love to have that in the future. Beautiful. If I am not mistaken, Brett, I do have a question for you if you're able.
Oh.
It's all yours. I've noticed lately some members in the general chat are sending messages that aren't really necessary to have, and some are using members' faces for their profiles. I'm not too sure if there's a question there. There's a statement. I hand that over to you, Brett.
Yeah, happy. So I responded in text, I guess, but effectively use the report function. Like, I don't know all of your faces. I don't know any of your faces. I don't want to see any of you. But in terms of, like, things like that, use the report function. We don't sit here trawling the Discord 24/7, and if there's a chat that's escalating out of control. If you use the report function, it notifies the community moderators and we can step in. So that's pretty much it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Sweet. That's all the questions that I can see. If just before we do bring it to a close, I give some time to Tracy, who's got a message for all of us.
Evening, all. As pretty much everybody would be aware by this stage, Trent Hopkinson passed away last Friday evening. Before I say a few words about his life and what he meant to the various communities he was a part of, I know he'd be looking down and wouldn't want this all to be somber and depressing. So I'm going to preface that just I'd like to share a little story with you. I knew the guy fairly well. We met up fairly regularly, occasionally for a meal down at the Arrow Bar at Moorabbin Airport, or he was a regular visitor every year at WellFlight. And it's about WellFlight that I'd like to share this story with you that really shows his dedication to being what we all are, and that's AvGeeks. And also his really amazing sense of humour. So as many of you would be aware, there's a 747 simulator in Sydney that is built with real parts, and we use that every year to fly around the world for WellFlight. During WellFlight in Sydney, we welcome visitors all throughout the event. A lot of kids that come in and want to sit in and just be enthused by the environment of a full motion 747 simulator. And Trent was pretty much a kid every year along that same vein. And he used to come in and park himself in one of the two observer seats in the simulator and belt himself in and sit there for as long as he could get away with. And he would do this year in, year out, and often to the detriment of some kids who wanted to get into the sim and have a little experience as well. So one particular year, being the sort of people we are at WellFlight, we decided to drop Trent a slight little hint that maybe he should give other people a go. And the way we did that is the simulator has parts of all shapes and descriptions, and one of the parts it has as an option is a child seatbelt rather than an adult seatbelt in the observer seat. So the seatbelt was duly changed out for one of the children's seatbelts, and when Trent came and sat down in the sim, he tried to do the seatbelt up, and suddenly it wouldn't do up anymore. And to be fair, you could be an extremely skinny person and you would have had no chance of doing up that seatbelt the way it was rigged. Not to be deterred, however, Trent then proceeded to take a very, very deep breath and somehow, by some miracle, managed to get the seatbelt closed and sat there for the entire next flight with his breath more or less held for the entire flight, so that he wouldn't miss out on any of the action. And after the flight, he got out of the sim and he never said a word about it, not to anybody that was at WellFlight. And it was only many years later, when one of our lunches down at the Arrow Bar, that we had a chuckle about it. And he was very adamant that he didn't want to give anyone the satisfaction of him not being able to strap in, as it was a requirement because it was a full motion sim. It is a full motion sim. Seatbelts were required. So with that said, I'll move on to, a little bit about his life. Most of us knew him as Musical Aviator. Last Friday evening, while he was participating in one of his other great loves, which is live swordcraft events in Melbourne, he suffered a medical episode and sadly passed away on the Oval and was unable to be revived. He was only 45 years old, and he was a man of many talents who touched the lives of countless people through his virtuosic music ability, a popular YouTube channel, and absolute love of the swordcraft community. He was a remarkable musician. His passion for music brought the bright brass sound of the trumpet to classical groups and orchestras all over Melbourne. His YouTube channel, where he shared his love for both music and aviation, became a testament to his unique ability to combine his talents with what was once described to me by a mutual friend as heartfelt artistry. In addition to his musical pursuits, Trent was, of course, an aviation enthusiast. His dedication to our virtual skies have inspired many to finesse their flying skills, including some that I can see at this gathering. His YouTube channel has been viewed by people of all ages and walks of life, including current members of VATSIM's Board of Governors, which just demonstrates and shows his ability to appeal to audiences of all ages. His audience was global on his YouTube channel, and his love of flight sims was always on show. Like music and swordcraft, it also served as a social gateway, and it enabled him to connect with this community especially. The only way to describe Trent's contribution to VATPAC is enormous. He worked for me, if I can use that term, as an active and vital member of the events team for many years when I held the position of VATPAC Events Director. It was a much smaller events team back then, and although the per-person workload was much higher, he never took a backward step or missed a single deadline. He very rarely missed participating in the Milk Run Monday, and he genuinely enjoyed both sides of the radar scope. Just on that as a side note, VATPAC will be holding a special Memorial Milk Run Monday for the first Milk Run Monday of next year on the 6th of January, and there will be more information available about that via the usual channels later on. As I mentioned before, Trent was also a cherished member of the Swordcraft community, where he brought fantasy to life through live-action roleplay. Swordcraft became not just a hobby for him, but a transformative experience that allowed him to step out of the shell of his otherwise shy and reserved demeanour. Whether it was his hourly on-field bugle calls, engaging in epic battles, or sharing stories by the fire when a hard day's battle was done, Trent's energy and creativity left an indelible mark on everyone who knew him. One only has to look at Swordcraft's Facebook page to see how hard the impact his death has had on that community. Above all those who knew him, Trent will be remembered as a kind and gentle soul who was always willing to lend a hand, offer advice, or share a laugh. His community of friends, fans, and his doting mother will forever cherish his memory. If you do have the means, please do consider donating to the GoFundMe page set up to help his mother with the funeral and other associated costs. If you need details on how to do that, send me a DM or have a look at his Facebook page. The details are there too. His funeral, for those in Melbourne, will be held on the 27th, and once again, more details are available on his Facebook page. Fly high, mate. We'll miss you.
Thanks, Tracy. That's very loving and touching words there, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of the rest of the community. He'll be sorely missed from our virtual skies, and yeah, we'll miss hearing his voice as we fly and control.
Indeed.
That wraps up our town hall for this year and this quarter. From all of us on the staff team, we wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Spend some time with your family and friends. We'll see you online, we'll see you controlling, we'll see you flying, and we will catch you next year. Thank you.
Thanks, Clem. Awesome work as always.
Thank you.